is a master of many things, cross-cultural and intercultural and language related. As a training professional, I sincerely recommend you either connecting with her through LinkedIn or checking out her YouTube channels or websites. Details will be provided just to learn more about Renata or to connect. And yeah, I will stop my sharing and pass you all over.
All right. Thank you very much, Peter, for that introduction. And hello and welcome, everyone. Most of you I know I've either met here on Culture Chat or we've talked one-on-one. So it's a pleasure being back as a presenter here on the Culture Chat. And my topic today is small talk. So basically introducing myself. How long should I talk about myself? How long should I make this introduction? This is probably how it starts. And also, how long do I talk if we were to meet one-on-one? So let's say one of you wants to set up a one-on-one chat. We meet, you have a specific question for me, or you want to ask me to come to your podcast or be a speaker at your company. And then before we get down to business, how long do we chat? How long do we spend getting to know each other? What's our personal preference? What are some expectations across cultures? That's what we're going to talk about today. And I hope you will bring your wealth of experience that you have with different cultures and also your personal preferences and maybe some stories when you had a different expectation and when you ran into a funny, or maybe not so funny situation. So, what we'd like to try today, and that's the thing with technology, we'll just try and see if it works, and you make perfect guinea pigs for that. My apologies for that. So you must have heard about Mentimeter. I guarantee some of you have used it. If you've used Mentimeter, raise your hand real quick or use the electronic wave symbol. Okay, so then you probably know that it sometimes works really well. It makes wonderful word clouds and it sometimes doesn't work. So my attempt today is to get you to make me a nice word cloud and I'm going to try to make it work and you tell me what you think small talk is for you. So here's my attempt to do this. And before I do, Mentimeter, you need a website and you need a code, and you can do it in a separate window on your computer, or you can use a separate device if your phone is on your desk. So for the first one, I put the website in the Zoom chat, and for the first one, we need this particular code. So go ahead and give it a try, and I'm going to share the Mentimeter slide here on screen. And look at that, it's working. So I hope you'll see this. So for me, small talk is give me just one word because we want to create a word cloud today. All right, so we have the first couple words coming in. So I think we have about 30 people participating today. I'm not sure if we're going to get 30 words. So I was hoping for kind of controversial words, something like fun and horror or delightful and dreadful. And I think we're seeing this exactly here. So we have anything from ranging from fun to painful. All right. Or from comfort to a bit boring. The biggest words is what several people have said. So a couple of people must have said fun. That's good. A couple of people must have said icebreaker. And quite a good number of you must have said awkward. That's interesting. So that is good feeding ground for our breakout rooms. Remember what you said to create the word cloud. This is absolutely fabulous. And I'm gonna let it run for just a few more seconds because I see that there's still words coming in. It's still moving for as long as the cloud is still moving. People are participating. Okay. So, um, I think we're getting to a point where nothing else is happening. So I'll just give it a couple more seconds. And then we can end our first Mentimeter. Okay. All right. I'm just trying to save this. Before we lose it. Okay, let me try to do that. And here we go. Because I have a second one for you where you can be a little more expressive. So I know people who come to Culture Chat, they come here to not just listen, but to express themselves, to share things. So thank you very much for that. So the second one is going to be where you can actually type an entire sentence if you want to. So if that was not enough for you, just one word, if you'd like to give me a whole explanation, a definition, or anything right up your alley, what you want to say about small talk, then this is your chance. And all I have to do is just start the second one, which is this endless list of comments that you maybe have seen on Mentimeter, or just Menti as they call it. And so here we go. Here is the second code. So it's the same link, same website, but a new code. So try the second code. And I'm going to share. Let's hope that the second one is going to work just as well as the first one. And here we go. So type away, and then we'll see if it's working. It is. Very nice. So big talk is about small things. Right. Because we're looking for some definition or your interpretation of it. I have a small PowerPoint presentation for you later, so I'll give you a bit of a presentation as well, but I want to hear your thoughts before we get started. Yeah, important to build trust. Good. Pleasantries, and that's all that it is. Or an opportunity to figure out common ground. Oh yeah, like testing the water. Okay. Um, ooh, we're getting into more details, high context, circular, indirect communication. Just yes. So this is kind of definitions I wanted to hear, very different ways of looking at it. So take it in as the comments come in. Um, so if I'm lucky, and I seem to be lucky with Menti today, it does save these results. And I shall share with Peter and Tasha later. Should I be able to retrieve those results, and then we'll be happy to share those with you, of course. So I hope you're finding it interesting to see what your fellow Culture Chat participants think about small talk. And that's also a nice little warm up for your discussions later on in the breakout rooms. And so I'll just wait a few more seconds to see what else comes in, and then we're going to stop this Menti participation activity. Okay, I think we're good. Nothing else. So thank you very much for participating. Um, like I said, I shall share with the team later, and then you find it on the website, get an email, or however we get this to you. All right. So as usual, I have a short presentation for you, and then we're going to go into breakout rooms. So let's have a look at small talk across cultures, and let's start with like a little type of a definition. What is small talk? And of course, you don't want to be rude. That's for sure. But sometimes we try to be polite and we're rude. How did that happen? So some things we say or we ask during small talk could be interpreted as rude, even though you want to be polite. So what's that? I'm going to give you a couple of examples, and also a couple of topics across cultures that make great small talk topics and that maybe you should avoid. And then if you have more examples or you disagree, well, then that's for you to discuss in the breakout rooms and then share when you come back. And also, I try to put cultures on a sliding scale according to literature and what I read. And I also have a couple of very interesting videos for you can watch about this topic that I'll share. And while you're in the breakout rooms, I'll share those links with you. So you'll get all the information in the course of this culture chat. So let's start with what's small talk. So according to several dictionaries, when you look it up, they always say it's polite conversation. It's about something unimportant but common matters, and it happens during social occasions. The big question is, what is polite? We seem to have a very different understanding of that. What is actually important and what is unimportant, and what is common? And this is exactly what makes it different across cultures because we have a different idea of polite, unimportant, and common. So let's talk a little bit about this word polite. I really love discussing what people think is polite, especially during small talk. So, you've put on weight. Is that a polite question? Would you like to be asked that? We just meet, we start chatting, and I said, "Oh, you put on weight." Any thoughts about that? I mean, feel free to share in the chat while I'm presenting. It would be funny to see what people think about that. Um, so, and I think somebody's getting onto this. So I'm presenting to the right audience here. I get it. Yes, totally. Somebody mentions China, and so thank you for that. Keep discussing in the chat as I reveal that. Yes, in China, people might ask you that. It's kind of a translation of you have grown prosperous or maybe badly translated, gained weight. Um, and that is polite. It means you're doing well. You're living the good life. Everything is fine, you know. You're not starving. You're doing well. You have everything it takes to live a good life. However, in the US, that would be totally rude if you ever said that to someone. Wow, they wouldn't know what to say. On the contrary, they would love to hear that maybe you think they lost weight. Or probably you shouldn't talk about physical things like comments about somebody's body, but if you had the choice between you put on weight and you lost weight, definitely in the US, the lost weight comment is more appreciated than the other. Or for example, somebody says your presentation was stunning, absolutely amazing. So somebody makes you a really, really nice compliment during small talk. So what would be a polite response? And again, if you want to actively participate, share in the chat whatever you think. What is a polite response to a wonderful, wonderful compliment like that? Well, a response that obviously is culturally appropriate. And this is hopefully nobody says it depends because that's the standard answer to these type of things. No, for you personally or in your country, or make it personal what you think you personally in your current country would say, and that's totally appropriate and polite. And I see some comments coming in. Very nice. You appreciate it, or you say thank you in a way. Um, and well, let's see what other people have to say. Uh, yeah, I see some funny comments. Anyway, so most of you are probably going to say this, and I chose France as an example. I could put many other countries there. Like, thank you very much. So you accept it, you know, thank you very much. Yes, it was great. Yes, I did great. Thank you. And that's very kind of you to say. I appreciate it. So you own it and you thank people for that. And that is considered polite in many cultures. I'm pretty sure, and I'm not watching the chat all the time, but I'm pretty sure this audience knows exactly where this would not be a polite response. And yes, it's feel free to keep chatting in the Zoom chat, but of course, I keep going here and reveal what you're probably already thinking. So if you're in Japan, that would be very rude or even presumptuous. How dare you say that? Instead, you should be more humble, right? So something like, oh, that's too much honor for an insignificant presentation. The other speakers were much better. I mean, if you ever say that in the US, they go like, wow, are you incompetent or what? Um, don't you trust yourself? You know, you were fantastic, own it. But in other cultures, it's expected to be humble and to say something like that. And one more example of what is polite across cultures in small talk could be how our conversations overlap. So, of course, I speak, you speak, I speak, you speak, but how much of a gap in between is there? If I wait too long, is that good or bad? If I kind of breathe while you're saying the last couple of words and then immediately start talking or our words are overlapping, is that good or bad? I took Italy as an example where this type of fast-paced turn-taking and overlapping words is good. It's polite. It's showing interest that you're engaged. If I leave 5 or 10 second gaps, Italians would probably think I'm not interested or they're boring me or something is wrong. You know, they would suspect something negative. However, in other cultures, the gap between what I say and what you say is absolutely essential. And um, uh, some of you are probably already speculating in the chat, and I hope you do, where the gap is super, super essential. And I saw Michael is here today, so I'm waiting for Michael to make a comment on a particular country that I chose as an example here. Yes, you guessed it. Finland. Yes. Well, if I talked like that, the Finns would despair. They would probably think I'm inconsiderate, selfish, or rude because you have to leave plenty of time between one speaker and another for reflecting and processing the information. So things are much slower, and that is polite, that is normal, and that's what we need to um, filter into our conversations across cultures. Now, I just wanted to summarize real quick some things maybe you should share and you should ask. It is kind of safe to tell people what you do for work or where you go to school if you study, what neighborhood you live in. Don't give them your full address, but your neighborhood, you know, what part of town maybe, where you're from. Some sort of sports or free time activities make great small talk topics in most countries and cultures. You could share something about your family, but be careful what it is that you share. That may vary across cultures, but sharing is different from asking. And this is why I separated the two things. Maybe you want to share, but there are things you shouldn't ask. So I'll come to that on the next slide. So maybe you could ask what somebody does for work or which neighborhood they live in, where they're from, the same thing basically what you shared, um, and some local topics. A great thing to actually ask if somebody is a local, can you make some recommendations? Tell me something about this place. That would be a great thing to ask. What you should steer clear of, I think it's not a big surprise. Do not share your political views, religious or sexual orientation, how much you earn. Yes, some people in some cultures might be tempted to, but across cultures, this is a slippery slope. Certain personal details, but be careful how much of yourself you actually share. And if you have any pet peeves or grievances and you think that makes a great small talk topic to complain about something, that works in certain cultures, but not in many. So this is what you should not share. And I hope you will discuss more in the breakout rooms what else you think you should not share and what you should not ask. I really think you shouldn't ask about anything on the left. Um, Maybe you shouldn't even ask about marital status of kids. And this is why I mentioned on the other slide, you may share that. If you say, oh, I'm married, I got 3 kids, okay, fine. I share that about myself, but I'd be more careful about saying, are you married? Do you have kids? That may not be something other people feel comfortable talking about. Also, other people's opinions. Some people may want to share opinions or not. Don't force them to discuss controversial topics just because you find it interesting. Stay away from these type of things. And also physical attributes, age. Yes, in some cultures, oh, you're so slim, like you lost weight, haha, or oh, you look so young, or something. It may be good, but not everywhere. And since this could be very tricky in some cultures, maybe not your first choice of what to ask, or in general, anything that could upset the other person. Now, like I said, I tried to put countries on a sliding scale based on what you find in literature, articles, videos, whatever you find online. But I also found, or I remembered this a great overview by Richard D. Lewis, which comes from the book When Cultures Collide. Um, and it gives us this overview before a meeting, how much small talk we need across cultures. And these are the countries that are mentioned in the book. And you see the first three countries. So there's just formal introduction or informal. Wow, informal. Oof, that's an improvement. But not really the word small talk. The first time we see the word small talk, it's actually here for the UK. 10 minutes. Okay, pretty decent. France, 15. Japan, oh, look at that, 15 to 20 minutes. Spain, Italy, 20 to 30 minutes. So these are some of the sources online where you can find, or your own personal experience, or where are we on a sliding scale across cultures with small talk? And I kind of came up with this. So this is my own creation based on everything I've read or I've experienced. And so the sliding scale starts on the left with totally engaged. Small talk is lively, lengthy, essential. Then it kind of moves to a middle section where there's some formal or even scripted small talk. Small talk must happen, but it's more of a ritual. It's more of an etiquette. Um, can't be too long because then it's bothersome. And then more towards the right of the sliding scale is where small talk is kind of limited, or maybe even no need for small talk. So if you want, take a quick screenshot of this or try to memorize one or two countries where they are, and then maybe discuss during the breakout room. Do you agree or disagree? Or where would you put any other country on that sliding scale? I'd really like you to discuss this. So I'm just giving you good ideas for your discussion about small talk in the breakout rooms. And I found a couple of really interesting videos on YouTube. I'll share the links in the Zoom chat while you're in the breakout room, so don't worry, you'll get them. So this is what I found. There's a very nice video on how Sweden survives without small talk. Very funny. There's a nice dialogue about why small talk is different in Korea. Then there is some Brits giving advice on small talk. Of course, this is a special type of humor, may not be appreciated by everyone equally, but I love it. And then there's something about Italy, how to make small talk in Italian. This is a bit of a language lesson, but it's very cultural in a way. And then I found this very short but kind of funny stand-up comedian clip on YouTube by Kanangil, and I'm not sure how to pronounce his name correctly, on the difference between Indian and American small talk. So I'll share those with you later, but now it's time for you to go into breakout rooms, share your experience with small talk, and I think Peter has prepared a couple of questions he can put in the Zoom chat so you'll remember what to talk about.
On the spot, here we are.
All right.
Let's, there we are. I've just posted those into the chat. I think that's what we discussed the other day, Renata.
Okay, excellent. So, as usual, introduce yourself. Yes, maybe focus
How
on the
long are you keeping people
countries.
in the breakout rooms, Renata?
So it is. What time is it? It's So we're halfway through. So we definitely want to have like 10, 12 minutes at the end. So maybe anywhere 15, 16, 17 minutes.
Great. Perfect. 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 Right. Creating those breakout rooms now. Of course, if there's any trouble or you're with some people you've been with many times before and wish to switch groups, just exit, come back, and we'll assign you out to another room. But starting those rooms now. Thank you.
See you later. Okay, we're recording again, so welcome back, everyone. And I hope you enjoyed your breakout room conversations. So, would anybody want to share with us what you were talking about, a summary of your group or your personal opinion? Any brave volunteers to get us started?
I could actually speak on behalf of Eliona, who is in our group as Eliona, unless you want to go ahead and share that question, which was very intriguing and thought-inspiring.
Which one do you mean?
The one about how
The
do you,
last one?
yeah, the last
one.
one. Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. I thought I'd do that later, but if you call me out. So we had a great discussion, but one question is, how do you end a small talk if you feel like it's taking too long and you start feeling awkward and you cannot physically escape, for example, if you are on a plane or in a similar situation. So if you could share your experience.
So, you didn't come to a conclusion in your group. You didn't have an answer for that, or did you?
Well,
We
we
did.
did have it,
Yeah, a
yeah.
couple of them. So we're saying if you're on a flight, you could just excuse yourself to go to the loo or then hover around and chat up with the cabin crew, get some snacks on the way, so that hopefully hoping the person just dozes off, maybe. But yeah, that was one option. Or if you're in a networking event or a social mixer, maybe just like I just say that you don't want to just want to catch up with someone else as well. I'll be right back, or I'll see you around, or something on those sorts.
Yeah, the
I
very
usually have
famous
the
like,
book.
"Oh, hello, I'm coming," but there's nobody there. So is it that famous move, or are you gonna just put your earphones in on the airplane? And I'm watching a movie. Or does anybody have a better suggestion?
Or just to
I
say,
usually have a
nice
book.
meeting you, I guess that works too. Yeah.
I mean, you picked the toughest scenario there of being on a plane where you literally are trapped. You can't even change seat. You are in that seat for the duration of the journey, and it's kind of yeah. All it is, it's kind of your two options are remove yourself from your seat and do the oh, I need to go to the lavatory, the WC, or it's wait for that tiny break in the conversation and put the earpods in and then pretend the noise cancelling's on. And they're pretty much your two options, aren't they? But apart from that, you're a captive audience. But as being in a sort of a sales relationship sort of like rolls over the years, I think there is an art to ending conversations, and I think that could be around kind of again the prevailing kind of wrapping up. Nice to meet you. Or I've just seen someone across a room I really want to speak to, or etc. etc. And excusing yourself from the conversation. But there's probably a whole nother culture chat around probably politely ending
Yeah.
conversations. So thank you very much for the question.
Yeah, and your response or your desperate attempt to end it may not even be understood, depending on direct or indirect that person prefers to communicate. Because if I say, "Oh, it was sure lovely talking to you," to me that's ending it. But to you, this might just be an invitation to keep going. Who knows? And we got Tanya. She got her hand up. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say I've sort of studied this a bit just to watch the experts in this field. And what I've noticed is that they say exactly that. And then to eliminate any sort of question as to whether that was an invitation for more or summarizing the end of the conversation, they might say something that they are going to do. So, for example, in the plane, you might say, it was lovely chatting with you. Thank you for that nice conversation. I'm going to read my magazine now. So I always liked that style. You're not saying no, you're saying this is what I'm going to do instead.
Okay, so a bit more direct to make sure everybody gets it. So, keep it coming if you want to share what you discussed while you're doing that. I'm actually going to share those links to the videos I mentioned because we were busy doing a lot of small talk while you were in your breakout rooms. So I haven't done it, but I'm doing it as we speak. So if you have any comments, just go ahead, unmute, and we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you, Tanya, for using the raised hand. Y'all feel free to use it or just pop in like I'm doing. I wanted to, uh, I was going to say something similar, but not as good as Tanya's. Uh, so you said this so well. I wish I had gone before you. Uh, but um, in all seriousness, one thing that I heard you say there is put a positive instead of a blank space. So fill the space so that the other person can't fill it. That is to say, here's what I'm going to do. It's the positive action I'm going to take, and then actually do it. But the other thing I wanted to really call out is, and this was going to be the heart of my point, honor the thing that the small talk is trying to do. I think let them know it worked. Might be one way I would put that. It's love, and the way you said that was nice. Lovely to connect with you. Lovely to get to know you a bit. It's great conversation. It's been, let them know the status is good conversation. It was good to get to talk with you. And then, but honor that thing, even if you don't share it, to the extent that you can recognize what they're trying to do with their small talk. I think that's a very good thing to do. It won't always land, but I don't I don't think it's necessarily good to totally censor our needs, yes, but like conversationally censor the fact that like you're draining me and this sucks. No. Honor what they were trying to do in as so far as you can. All right, I said it 3 times. I'm shutting up now. When do you end small talk? Before that.
Quick organizational note. If you open the Zoom chat at the very top right corner, there are 3 dots. If you click on them, you can say save chat if you want to save all the information. And I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 more comments.
Oh, Doreen has mentioned personality in terms of introversion, extroversion. I think that's huge and has big cross-cultural implications too. Doreen, could you say more?
Someone in our group brought up the topic of being an introvert, and I notice that personality has a huge part of it, because sometimes I used to perceive myself as a major extrovert. As I've aged, I think I've become more introverted, but I think it's really important to use our invisible intuition and our skills to lean into the person, not just to lean into the box or the culture that we are assuming, because often their personality is quite different from the way their culture might act. Just something to consider.
No, absolutely. We're facing this with every aspect of cultural dimensions that we try to attribute them to an entire country. And yes, there is definitely a tendency the country leans towards, but then sometimes personality and the culture we live in clash. We have managed that. We have learned how to navigate the culture, to adapt, adjust, but we still don't like it. And it happens all the time. And yes, this may show during interactions like small talk when there's a certain expectation maybe across an entire country or culture, but you personally are different and it shows. And that's fine. That's simply expected. I think someone else had their hand up and oh yeah, Susan, go ahead.
Actually, that was by mistake. I was tempting with the control.
Too bad you're on now.
Menus. Yeah. But yes, even with these emojis, I think they're also
I know
worth
they
a
can be
discussion.
confusing.
Also culturally, which ones are appropriate to use and which ones aren't, when you're crossing borders. So it's also a way of communicating with others, right? And we use that quite a bit. So yeah, perhaps that's a thought on the way.
Thank you. So
Okay.
any final closing thoughts? Because I think we're top of the hour. We have to round this up and then I'll hand over to Peter.
I could go. Our group had a funny conversation about elevator experiences, and just to share the anecdote, our range was warm conversations with handshakes or hugs, generic conversations, being in an elevator but no eye contact, and then not getting on the elevator at all because you don't want to have small talk for the 4 different countries in our group.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, thank you for that last remark. I can. back to Doreen's part, you know, someone that considers himself a more outward person, I have even been subject to the moment of skipping an elevator because I've just not been in the right frame of mind to engage with conversation of the people inside the lift. So I think we all have those moments. But thank you very much for joining, and thank you, Renata, for a great topic and conversation. And see you all back hopefully in 2 weeks' time.
Great pleasure. See you again soon in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.